Hello, I'm Dale Petronk. I've been asked by a couple of people to show how I set up my particular rig, particularly as I have the custom bag rider. I don't know that it makes any difference in terms of the process with the custom bag rider or any other way. I set up pretty much the same when I shoot from a bag or a bipod as well. But I shot some footage today that I thought might be of interest for those that want to see how I set things up. I don't think there's a right way to do it. Everybody's got their own way, and certainly you may have a better plan and a better idea on how to go about it. This is just what I do, and so far it's been working for me. So here we go. Out at the range this morning, and people have asked me how I set my stuff up, and so I thought I'd shoot a video. You don't need to see me unloading the truck, of course, but so I put my backing board, which is just a packing box, on a couple of shepherd's hooks and use push tacks to hold the target down. I try and square it to the edges of a couple of things on the target to kind of square it up, and then I take a pen and I outline around the target so that when I get it set up, I have it set every time. And then I'll be taking it down range and setting it up at 50 yards. Alright, I get it set up down range at 50 yards. I push the shepherd's hooks in. And as you can see, it's probably not quite level. So I will push the hooks in a little bit to level it out. Sometimes I bring an actual level out here to do this, but I didn't today. Next, I'm going to put my wind flags out. I usually put the first one at about 10 or 15 yards, and they're just shepherd's hooks with the tops cut off. I set my third one up right next to the target. As you can see, there's not really any wind this morning. Second one I typically set up about 25 yards. I don't find those after 25 and much before the end adding much for what I do, but others I'm sure do. So that's how I set up my wind flags. I then unload my rest and bag, and you can see I use little rubber feet to protect the bench under the 3 feet of the rest. I try and, as best I can, align the rest to the target even roughly here so that it's straight, and it depends on the rifle. In terms of how this rear bag rider gets placed. Now it's got an adjuster screw to level it out here, so you can see I can do that. And I have tried numbers of ways to stick that to there, and it's got a little sticky on it now, and so it holds. So I'll get it lined up roughly in terms of the process at this point, and get the rifle out. So I take the rifle out and I set it on there, and I try and get the bag rider centered it into the crux of the stock in the rear, and as aligned front to rear as I can with what I think the target is going to be initially. And so that's how I sort of do it for that part of the process. I then align the rifle on there, getting everything squared away so that when I slide it back and forth on the bag, it does smoothly, returns smoothly, it's seated firmly in the crux of the rifle stock so that it rides level. And I don't want any movement left or right on the target when I move the bag back and forth. And so by canting the bag or the rider front to back, you can adjust where the rifle travels. So if when I move the rifle back, the reticle moves to the right, that means the back has to go to the right and front needs to come to the left. So you can cant it that way. If it goes the other way, you cant it the other way until there's none. Ideally, I want it to be as no movement on the target at all down there, if possible. Usually there's some up and down I can't take out because I'd have to get a leveler system built into the rear rider, and I don't currently have one of those. So right now there's usually about 1/8 of an inch of movement up and down as well. So then we have it centered. We set the parallax. We adjust the level of the rifle, which is reasonably close right now. I don't know if I can get a good shot of it. Get my hand out of the way, good shot of it. And we are good to go. That's how I set it up. Then I have the cameras